Hyatt Hotels is owned by the Pritzker family. Why does that Pritzker name sound so familiar? That's right, Governor J.B. Pritzker, governor of Illinois. Safe to say that Hyatt Hotels supports the Democratic Party. Choice Hotels. Now, Choice Hotels donated $1.3 million to Democrats in 2024. And if you're wondering, Choice Hotels owns Quality Inn, Sleep Inn, Okono Lodge, and Roadway Inn. Wyndham Hotels. Now, Wyndham Hotels owns Super 8, Days Inn, Aquinita, Ramada, and more. Marriott. Marriott donated $228,000 to Democrats in 2024, and Hilton Hotels donated $241,000 to Democrats in 2024. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Tuesday morning, progressives, and all the rest of you cool folks out there that are trying to figure your way through this crazy, mud that we're in. Welcome to the May 12th, 2026 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is our number. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube. We're also broadcasting on AM 950 in Minneapolis. And Facebook, TuneIn Radio are great spaces to be, and YouTube, most definitely. We're broadcasting as well on AM 1520 and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I've been seeing your emails, and I'm doing my best to respond to them. I'm sorry if I'm a little bit tardy. But you can email me, of course, at richard@wcpt820.com and follow me on all of the socials. I'll get my next Substack posted later today or tomorrow morning early, but it'll be there. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. And there you can get Choose Views featured interviews, the great Joan Esposito and the absolutely great Patty Vasquez. Joan's show, of course, is live, local, and progressive. And Patty Vasquez's show is Driving It Home. Edwin Eisendrath with us on Saturdays with It's a Democracy, Stupid. So make sure you are catching all of our broadcasts out in Chicago and all of our other shows and interviews because they really matter, just like our wonderful digital platform, the folks over at heartlandsignal.com. So make your way over there as well so that you can keep up. You can like and share and do your part. That's sometimes the easiest thing is the simplest thing. And in the case where we are right now, the simplest thing might be going to heartlandsignal.com, finding an article or post that you like there, and sending it on to somebody that you care about in this space that we're in right now. So on today's show, we'll be talking with Jordan Wood, who's candidate for Congress in Maine, and I'm going to have some questions for him about what's going on in the state of Maine. Then in the 7 o'clock hour, Dr. Chris Jones, who's a candidate for Congress in Arkansas, will be with us. We'll talk a little bit about what's happening with education, with their healthcare system down in Arkansas as well. And then Dr. Debra Houry, who's been with us before. She's a former CDC chief medical officer and now a Yale lecturer and fellow. And she's also part of the PHNIX project, which was put together by California Governor Gavin Newsom, bringing the smart people to the table to talk about how we fix our healthcare, our health systems, our environment. So she and I will get into that this morning. So stay tuned. Get your notebooks out. Be ready to take some notes, write some things down, come up with some questions. And while we're on the air, if you got a question or a thought, send us a text, and I'll do my best to get it read. If it times out, Devin will open up the lines and we come back. This is a question that's part of another conversation that we've had, and it'll be kind of our question of the day. If you have family who is MAGA, how are you dealing with them right now? If you've identified or they've identified, they've made it clear that they're still down with MAGA. How are you dealing with that? How are you dealing with them? And I'm curious how you feel about them being part of MAGA, and I'm curious how you're dealing with them being part of MAGA. Yesterday, Jenny, who was on with Rich Loges from Leaving MAGA, really I mean, we were all eyes open here. I mean, Devin and Whitney and Mike and I, a couple things that Jenny said about what she's done and how she's had to navigate her family. If you guys remember, we were all like, wow, someone that decided to take the full mile and basically, Uncle Johnny, you can't come to Thanksgiving. That takes guts. But I'm curious. And so it, of course, leads to the question that we have today. And that is, if you have family who's MAGA, still in MAGA, still supports them, still down with them, how are you dealing with them and that relationship, given where we are and what we've seen as an escalation from not only MAGA, but the entire GOP? And particularly on the state level, the GOP on a state level is, we'll talk a little bit about this today, and certainly tomorrow I'm going to talk more about some of these recent state rulings when it comes to voting. But let us know by sending a text, of course, to 773-763-9278. You can call us and we'll talk about it, or just let Mike know what your thoughts are if we can't get you on, and we'll try to read your comments on the air. And then, of course, go to Facebook and post your comments there about how you are dealing with family who's part of MAGA, and what that relationship looks like and feels like for you. And speaking of MAGA, it's something that just some quick thoughts that I wanted to share with you guys. Okay, so Trump's going to be going to China and is going to have to be talking with, Xi Jinping. And this is just something that I think we've got to be mindful of. He's going there to talk to him about negotiating on a number of items. But the ones that are at the top of the list are going to just show how much Donald Trump has got to kiss the behind of the Chinese prime minister. Because this war, remember I said this is going to happen. As we got further immersed in this Israeli war against Iran that the United States got dragged into with Donald Trump's ineptitude, he has to go and kiss China's behind, because we lost when we decided that when Donald Trump decided that he was going to do this without any counsel of Congress, governors, whoever he could talk to get a little bit more information other than he knows everything, knows more than the generals, that infamous statement he made years ago. What happened there is that the troops that we had to deploy to this part of the Middle East, it's not rocket science. I just read all that was reported, would have to come from parts of Asia, and our backboard there to protect Taiwan. So now that that's happened, a couple things are taking place. We've weakened ourselves from a military standpoint in any international affairs, frankly, because when you deploy troops to an area, you deploy them based on the resource of how many troops you have globally. I don't mean globally in the sense of the globe, but in total. You deploy accordingly. And when you move them from an area, that means that some area that's already been allocated a certain amount of deployed soldiers and armament, if that's put someplace else, then you leave something, you kind of leave the back door open, which is what we've done in Asia. Okay, and I'm not trying to be a military expert. This is just common sense stuff that we can all read up on. So by doing that, the leverage that we may have had is gone in terms of trying to protect Taiwan. And then, as I talked about a couple weeks ago, what that further puts us in a position of is being vulnerable when it comes to chip manufacturing. And so now this whole conversation around chip dominance is essentially gone or waning at best, because he's got to go and kiss Xi Jinping's behind. One, to kind of try to triangulate militarily what's going on with Iran, which isn't going to work, because we know that the Iranians and the Chinese are having a conversation. But secondly, when it comes to, where we would stand when it comes to chip manufacturing, that Joe Biden had us moving in a better direction. we're over a barrel, or Donald's going to be over a barrel. That's not going to be a pretty sight. But that's what's going to happen with this trip. He's going to be in a butt-kissing position over a barrel because the leader of China doesn't have to budge. He can be respectful and have a conversation with Donald, but when that ends, there's not going to be anything gained. I'm betting on that. You watch this. You watch this space. So, the right has let this happen, not the Democrats. The right has let this happen. We were moving in a reasonable direction militarily in terms of how we were negotiating and what the J-PAC was saying with regard to the Iran deal. Slower than maybe many wanted, but it was keeping us out of being in a war situation. Now China is going to be holding the cards when it comes to what happens with Taiwan. And if they decided to make a move on Taiwan or not, we still are in a situation where our position with chip manufacturing, our position with chip delivery, our place in the world is done, or certainly going to be on a slippery slope. Just look it up. You don't have to believe me. So, Trump and the GOP are the ones that have added cost and uncertainty, not the Democrats. Maybe the GOP, maybe MAGA needs to start listening to the Democrats rather than trying to always feel like you've got us triggered because we get upset about things that we care about. Maybe you should start to listen, GOP and MAGA. Start to listen to us. We tend to get it right most of the time, and certainly without the loss of resources, the number one being human resources. Start to listen to Democrats, Republicans. We don't get it right all the time. We know that, but that goes without saying. Republicans get it wrong a hell of a lot more than we don't get it right. And right now, the Republicans and the entire GOP, even you voters who voted for this garbage, you got it wrong. So admit that you did and change course. Break the fever. Speaking of breaks, let's take a quick one. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. And now AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Life is full of balance, but if you are one of the millions of people affected by dizziness, vertigo, and imbalance, finding your footing isn't as easy as it seems. These conditions disrupt daily life and rob people of their independence. They are often misdiagnosed by healthcare providers, and some people are told that their symptoms are all in their head or that they are just due to stress. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Do you often feel dizzy and foggy-headed? Do you reach out for the wall to keep yourself from falling over? Do you experience a constant ringing in your ears? If you answered yes, you might have a problem with your inner ear. But there's hope. Visit liferebalanced.org or call 800-837-8428 to learn how you can get better. Again, that's 800-837-8428. Sponsored by the Vestibular Disorders Association.
Are you excited about being a new grandmother?
Of course I am. A little intimidated, too.
Why?
Taking care of a baby today is so different than when I had you.
But, Mom, you did great with me.
Thanks, son. But I put you on your stomach to sleep.
Right. But now we know that babies should always be placed on their backs to sleep for naps and at night to reduce the risk of sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS.
You also slept with blankets and toys in your crib.
True. But now we know to keep everything out of the crib except for my sweet baby girl. No blankets, pillows, or other soft or loose items.
Daddy's going to teach Nana all the ways to keep you safe while you sleep. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
For more tips on safe sleep for babies, visit safetosleep.nicchd.nih.gov. That's safetosleep.nicchd.nih.gov. Sponsored by the Eunice Kennedy Shriver National Institute of Child Health and Human Development.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
It's Choose Views, where we read more than just the headline. Now here's your host, Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back. Choose Views News here on this May 12th, 2026. A couple of headlines. Home sales stalled in April, dashing spring recovery hopes. Home sales barely budged in the month of April as the job market concerns and rising mortgage rates, as well as high home prices, weighed on buyers. Sales of existing homes climbed just 0.2%, according to the National Association of Realtors. Mortgage rates fell in February, sparking some hopes for a spring revival, but economic uncertainty due to the Iran war derailed the recovery. Oil price shock, quote, essentially messed that up, says Lawrence Young, the NAR's chief economist. Real estate agents are now bracing for a fourth consecutive slow year. Numbers to watch this week. Inflation is on the brain, of course. The pair of government data releases will include the Consumer Price Index and Producer Price Index. That'll offer some of the policymakers a better look at how surging energy prices are playing out in multiple areas of the economy. The Consumer Price Index is expected to rise 0.06% for the month. A more moderate report is compared to the March's jump of 0.09%. Some of the upcoming releases, of course, today the Bureau of Labor Statistics will release the monthly CPI for April, and then tomorrow the Bureau of Labor Statistics will release the Producer Price Index for April, which measures over time how prices have changed and how that's affecting domestic producers and their output in terms of stuff that we get. And then on Thursday, the U.S. Census Bureau will release its retail sales report for the month of April, which of course tracks furnished goods, food, clothing, furniture, and so forth, and even online sales now. Home sales, as I said, did stall, and we're seeing that that's impacting these numbers as well when it comes to purchasing. Diesel prices drive up the produce cost across America. We said this was coming. Spiking diesel prices are pushing the cost of produce as rising transportation expenses squeeze the distributors, according to the Wall Street Journal. As companies grapple with shocks from increased fuel costs, volatility in the markets, weather, and monetary policy shifts, many are passing those expenses on to the consumer. A food economist says produce often sees first effects, but higher prices will hit the grocery aisles soon as energy and storage and transportation costs are up about 12%. Wow. Private credit is also slowing down a little bit right now, just because of the strains that are taking place with regard to the war in Iran. And GM is cutting some of its IT staff as it reshapes its look into technology and the workforce. So they're going to lay off about 500 to 600 workers as part of their broader effort to restructure its technology. The cuts will primarily impact employees in the automakers' information technology organizations in Texas and Michigan, according to CNBC. GM says it's looking to transform the department to a better position for the company's future. And California, last but not least, is pain at the pump is expected to get worse. It could be months after the Straits of Hormuz reopens before California receives its next shipment of Middle Eastern oil, meaning the most expensive gas prices in the country have room to climb, and that's not a good thing. The average cost right now is $6.16 a gallon, according to AAA in California. So there you go, guys. A couple of quick Choose Views news items on this May 12th, 2026. And today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be talking to William Campbell, host of Here's Now, Ireland's political and social current affairs podcast, and Pat Kreitlow, founder and editor of Up North News. It's Live, Local, and Progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 here on WCPT, heartlandsignal.com, and tune in. And then tonight, tune in to Patty Vasquez Driving It Home. She'll be joined by guest co-host Dan Schaefer, and their guests are Reed McCollum, chair of the Democratic Party of DuPage County, and Dan Tully, attorney, former judge advocate for the United States Army Reserve, and 2026 candidate for Congress, who was defeated back in March in the Illinois primary. Tomorrow on Choose Views, my guests include Alex Narda, who is a vice chair of the Alex is the vice chair of the Indiana Democratic Party. And, of course, Choose Views contributor Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63 will be with us. And if you need to check any of our episodes out, you can do that go to our YouTube page at Heartland Signal, one word, and click on the live tab. You can also subscribe to our YouTube page, where you can find live streams and shorts from our heartlandsignal.com digital newsroom. So there you go. Make your way over to Heartland Signal. That's where all the good stuff is. All right. We're going to talk more about this tomorrow. I have some more content that I want to share with you guys. But so many folks have been frustrated around what's happening with these states that are forcing their gerrymandering on the citizens. And we've got a clip from something that I want you guys to hear. Gary Chambers talks a lot about this, and he's very, very passionate in his comments to some of the folks of the legislature. Let's go with that clip real quickly.
You are taking seats from black people, which we are entitled to by the Constitution of this country. Then you are a thief, in my opinion. And I'm entitled to that opinion.
I will not be
and
called
any
a thief.
Senator, if you're offended by it, that's on you, not me.
Right.
Now, if that triggered you, Senator, then you should go to bed tonight. And when you go to bed tonight, talk to your God and ask your God to change your heart, because that's conviction right there. Conviction. That's what it was. It did something in your soul. It made you feel something. And that's what happened when black men show up. When black men with courage, conviction, and righteousness show up, it triggers something in you. And you feel a way about it. So you try to limit us, you try to steal from us, and you think that we don't understand it. Every one of the black men we put up before you stand head and shoulders above every one of you on this committee, and you know it. And it does something in you that makes you feel inferior. So then you come with these white supremacist tactics because you have the numbers, but you don't have the courage. Because if you were really visionary leaders, you'd run against these black men with fair maps, and you get your asses whooped.
That was Gary Chambers Jr. He is first of all, let me set the stage real quickly, then we'll go to break. That was in Louisiana. And you guys know, as I said, Florida and Alabama and Tennessee basically just rubbed out districts that are predominantly black districts, congressional districts. Louisiana is next, and now we're seeing that I believe Arkansas. There's a couple others that are taking this measure. And Gary Chambers said it as more plain than I can say it. That's at the end of the day what this is all about. We can get into the Republicans can say all the garbage they want to. At the end of the day, this is about feckless, pansy-like, pasty guys that can't handle the fact that when strong people, and Gary was very specific as an activist there in Louisiana, to bring shame to these neo-Confederates in Louisiana. That's what they are. They're neo-Confederates. They're the new Confederacy, and they're just rinsing, and repeating what happened 3 generations ago. This is Jim Crow 2.0, whatever you want to call it, but ultimately, Gary cuts through all the fog. This is ultimately about white men in America, specifically in these southern states, and frankly, some other parts of the country. And we can go as far as saying in parts of blue states that don't want to see black men, black women, and other folks of color be able to vote and be represented in their respective districts. It's nothing other than that. So when you hear someone like that say those kinds of words, remember how many times we said, we told you so. So here's where we are. And this is going to impact all of our country. It just will. So the question is going to be how we're going to fight, and how we're going to fight against it. So we're going to talk more about this tomorrow. Let's take a quick break right now. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. And now AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. When we come back, we will be talking with Jordan Wood, who's running for Congress in Maine. We'll be right back.
At Blaine's Farm and Fleet, we know you do things your way. So why shop the same retail giants as everyone else when you can easily find the products you need and trust at unbeatable prices? During our spring fencing sale, save 10% on treated wood fence posts. Rewards members save 15%. Save $200 on the Hobart Handler 210 MVP MIG welder. And your choice of KT auto darkening welding helmets, $69.99. Find value on the things you value. Plains Farm and Fleet. Be an original.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the heart of World War II, while the skies rumbled with the roar of combat, a groundbreaking squad of pilots emerged from the segregated South, the Tuskegee Airmen. An elite group of African-American pilots defied the odds with their courage and skills. Trained at the Tuskegee Army Airfields in Alabama, they became the first black aviators in the U.S. military. Despite facing racism and skepticism, they soared through the skies, unmatched precision, escorting bombers and earning a distinguished reputation for their bravery. Their red-tailed P-51 Mustangs became a symbol of excellence and resilience, and in 2007, the Tuskegee Airmen were finally honored as they were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. These aviators didn't just fight for victory in the air, they battled for equality on the ground, forever altering the landscape of the American military and inspiring generations to come. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
Those headaches and stomach aches your child gets may be migraine. 10% of children and 28% of adolescents have migraine disease. Migraine at School can help. Learn more at migraineatschool.org. As a parent, I know how migraine impacts my daughter's ability to learn. Every child deserves the chance to flourish in school. Visit migraineatschool.org. Sponsored by the Coalition for Headache and Migraine Patients.
You are listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, look for partial sunshine at times. Do have a chance for some scattered showers and storms mainly into the afternoon with high temperatures into the upper 70s. Winds becoming gusty, turning to the southwest, increasing to 20 to 25. For tonight, still a chance for showers and storms in the evening, overnight lows in the lower 50s, and for Wednesday, partial sun, high of 62. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, 45.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Mike's on, truth's out. This is Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us this morning. Let's get it off to a good start. Jordan Wood is a candidate for Congress in Maine. And as I said so many times, our bench is deep and strong, whether it be people who are in office or folks that are running for an office on a congressional level or on a state level. Let's bring Jordan on real quickly. We'll get right into it. Good morning, Jordan, and welcome to Choose Views here on WCPT. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you know, as I just said, we've got a very strong bench of candidates, people that have decided to get into this fight, and many people are following, and they've said, yes, I'm going to ride with this particular person or that particular person. You ran, or you were looking to run for the Senate seat, and this was back toward the end of last year, and then made the shift to run for the congressional seat that's being the open seat from Representative Jared Golden. So talk to us a little bit about who Jordan Wood is, and let's get into some specifics after that.
Yeah, so I last April, just over a year ago, I announced I was running for U.S. Senate to take on Susan Collins, and that was a similar decision to decide to run for Congress when Jared retired. My father's a pastor, my mother's a teacher. I come from a family of service, and I see it as a calling, and I decided to run because I think this is a moment of true crisis for our country, and this future election will really decide who we are as a country, the future of our economy and our democracy. And we've got to take back a majority in Congress that is not just going to stand up to Donald Trump and the rule of law, but also deliver the social change that our country desperately needs. And so I was called to step up and run for the U.S. Senate, and then because nobody else was. And I think Susan Collins has been around for so long. She instills a lot of fear, intimidation. But then when Jared decided to retire at the end of the year, opening up one of the most competitive House seats in the country, and our national party was sort of like, this is too tough a district. We can't win here. And was really ready to walk away. And I was in a position, there was then multiple people in the Senate primary to take on Collins, and made that change because that's what I needed to do.
So what's the competition look like now? Because obviously with it being an open seat, that means that there's going to be clearly a Republican that you're up against. What's really happening there? How are you?
Yeah.
Give us the separator. Give us the wedge that you're trying to drive.
Yeah. Yeah, and to be honest, my opponent was a big motivation in needing to run here. The Republican running, his name is Paul LePage.
Paul LePage, yeah.
And he was our governor for about 8 years and calls himself Trump before Trump was popular. Yeah. He was elected in the Tea Party wave back in 2010. Has just openly said bigoted, racist, homophobic things as governor, but really the worst he's done is he stopped Medicaid expansion through Obamacare. We had to pass it through a ballot initiative. He opposed minimum wage increase. He tried to make Maine a right-to-work state. He's just really, in some ways, I say, ahead of the curve on Trump in some of his more extreme policies and how they hurt working people. He also is ahead of the curve on election denialism, which I know we've talked about before. This is really the big issue for me. I was at the Capitol on January 6th and saw firsthand what these lies about our democracy and our elections, what the real-life consequences for those are. Paul LePage is somebody who's called voter fraud in almost every election he's run, and all of it untrue. But he has so many similarities. He's just really the absolute wrong person to send to Congress right now, who would only work to enable Trump further.
So, Jordan, Maine is a special place in my heart, and why is that? I have been to all 50 states in the country. For my litmus test is I spent at least 3 days in all 50 states, and that's something that I'm really proud of as an American. And Maine was the 50th state. A decade ago, my wife and I came to Maine. And one of the things that stood out then that I was a little concerned about, because it was in the mid-fall of 2016, is the number of Trump signs I saw in Maine. And, we were in Camden and we were all over. But I remember saying to my wife, wow, this is really interesting. And I was a little concerned, and ultimately, Donald Trump became president. So, talk to us about this shift that I think has happened. And you probably are aware of this. And this is recently was reported that there are a number of areas of Maine that are shifting to Republicans now. What's happening in Maine that's caused that and causing that, in your observation?
Yeah. Well, excellent observation when you were here in 2016, because that's exactly right. Maine, our district is 11 of the 16 counties, so it's 80% of the state. And 10 of the 11 counties in our district voted for Obama twice, and then all voted for Trump in the subsequent elections.
What happened?
And so
what happened, man?
So So rural Maine, it bears a lot of similarities to the Midwest, Rust Belt, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, other rural areas that we saw swing from Obama to Trump. And that's because we've been hit very hard through automation and global free trade deals like NAFTA. I mean, in our district, 30,000 jobs, manufacturing jobs, have left the district since the 90s. And so that suffering, that pain of a political system and politicians and corporations and the wealthy who have prioritized themselves over working people and feeling left behind. Those are real, in rural Maine particularly, very real feelings, and that's what that swing. That's where the swing comes from. But I think, it's not becoming a Republican area. It is really becoming an area that is looking for new leaders, reformers, people that get how broken the system is and have a plan to fix it.
So do you think that that's something that lands in the lap of the state legislatures in terms of jobs that have left and economic opportunities that have left? Or is it a federal issue that we haven't had? I mean, let's be honest. Right now, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong and help me get correct. When people think of Maine right now, from a political standpoint, I would say that the thing that comes to mind is Susan Collins. And because she's been, for all measure, a very divisive politician, or one that's certainly suspect. And I think you go anywhere in the country and Susan Collins' name comes up and people go like, oh, God, is she going to be more troubled by, the next, wind blowing? So I'm being snarky and sarcastic for a reason, but I think it's a legitimate question. Is it something that's a federal issue? Is it a state legislative issue, or is it a blend? And what do you see as the percentage if it is a blend?
Yeah, I think it's a blend, but I think it's more federal issues. And I mentioned the free trade deals, and those are decided federally. But more broadly too, I mean, Maine has one of the states that had the highest percentage of people sign up to go to the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, which were a disaster. And we've got the financial collapse in 2008. A lot of that really is driven at a federal level. And the state does have some control over it, but it's just a smaller budget. As a lot of these more macroeconomic changes are what's hurt the state the most. But I would say that Maine is probably, other states might argue with me on this, but the most independent state out there. I mean, one of our senators is an independent, right. But Susan Collins, even until recent years, she would be considered one of the most independent or bipartisan senators. That has changed. But for a time, that was the case. And Olympia Snowe, who was our senator before Angus King, was very, very moderate. So it's an independent place, I would say, and it can produce politicians that look very different. But Maine's focus in our elected officials is really who's going to be on our side, who's going to fight for us down in D.C., because a lot of politicians leave us behind. And I think that's where Susan Collins has gone wrong. I think she has forgotten. She's been in Washington too long, 30 years, and she's forgotten who we are.
And that's why I asked the question, because obviously Angus King he's been more representative of what you just described. Susan Collins is seemingly the way in which she's politicked hasn't done the state any good. And let's be honest, if she's been there that long on a federal level, you would think that she would have been negotiating hard to bring the things to the state that's being troubled by the things that are federal issues. And that's where I'm hoping. And then I know this is it's a tough road for those of you in Maine and those of us in the Midwest that believe in you. But that's where I think we are, is that the blame isn't necessarily with the Democrats, because the senator that's voted for and in alignment with the things that have been most harmful, going back to the Iraq War and Afghanistan, has been Susan Collins. She's the one that has to be tagged with this. And even though you're running for Congress, you've got to see that that's the case. And even absolutely. With the predecessor who's leaving, there's a certain amount of responsibility that lands in his lap.
Yeah, and I think what we've got, the dynamics of our really important federal races this year, is Susan Collins, who just lacks the courage that we need in this moment of crisis to stand up for us, for our democracy, to hold Trump accountable, and to take votes like stopping this war in Iran, which she failed to do. And then in Paul LePage, we have somebody whose his problem is he is just whatever Trump wants, he does. He has yet to say a single thing he disagrees with Trump on. He's a true MAGA disciple, if you will.
Yeah, got it. Wow, deep breath on that. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We are talking with Jordan Wood, who is running for Congress in Maine. This is Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, and WAR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, as well as our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
After getting my promotion, the time had come to sell our home, so we got an appraisal.
But it was much lower than we expected. Before we had it appraised again, a friend suggested we make some changes.
I put my framed vintage Negro League baseball shirt, our African art, and family photos into storage. And that second appraisal came back much higher.
It's a shame we had to hide who we are to get a fair home appraisal.
A recent study found that Black and Latino homeowners are about twice as likely as white homeowners to get low appraisals. For example, one Black homeowner received an appraisal more than double the original after removing family photos, Black art, and books from her home. If you believe your home has been unfairly appraised because of race or national origin, that could violate the Fair Housing Act. Contact HUD at hud.gov/fairhousing. That's hud.gov/fairhousing. Everyone has a right to fair housing. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
Kids across America are going to school hungry. Millions of kids every day. But one simple thing can help change all of this for a hungry child in America. Good, healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Debunking the lies your uncle saw on Facebook. It's Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. We're talking with Jordan Wood, who's running for Congress in the great state of Maine. So, Jordan, one of the big conversation points right now, I think if we were to say the 2 or 3 of the big things that Democrats are talking about, obviously the war in Iran, affordability, and the third one is PAC money. And it's a conversation in pretty much every race, whether it be a state legislative race or it be a U.S. race, and even in some local races. Where do you sit right now in this conversation around money in politics?
Yeah, well, love that question because it's really been much of my life's work. I helped start a group called End Citizens United in the wake of that decision in 2015 because I was getting involved in organizing and advocacy on issues around ending poverty, climate change, immigration, and seeing how the Citizens United decision and the explosion of PAC money into our politics was holding us back, preventing us from achieving those changes. And that voters have become so cynical and distrustful of the corruption in our politics that the Democratic candidates really needed to prove to voters whose side they were on and spearheaded an effort to get candidates to reject corporate PAC money. This is back in 2017. So when we started that effort, there was only 6 Democrats in Congress that didn't take corporate PAC money. Today, there's over 60. And, of course, in this campaign, I do not take corporate PAC money or lobbyist money or money from AIPAC. And I think that is so important right now to earn back voters' trust so that they know whose side you're on, that you will not be corrupted by the influence of money, because voters know how broken the system is. And they know that the corruption in Washington is why they're dealing with so many issues around affordability, because the politicians that are supposed to be making life easier and more affordable are prioritizing their donors, and they want to see leaders that are going to be different.
I have an interesting spin on this. Not spin, it's my position or my thought process on money in politics. I think money, when we label sort of as a broad brush that money in politics is bad, I think what we're missing is that there are good people in politics that bring good money to the table. Yeah. And that we have to be mindful of how we phrase that. We've got to kind of change that a little bit to say good money from good people in politics helps us get things done. And I've been saying that to pretty much anybody that's running for office, that money inherently isn't bad in politics. What's bad are the people, the dark money that Sheldon Whitehouse talks about, and the Leonard Leos of the world, and all that they're doing. Just as a point of reference. Jordan, we have a caller.
If I could say,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think you're exactly right. And the money that is corrupting is the money that is going in to buy certain votes. I'm going to give you this money if you do this for me. And it's not explicit that way, but it's not because people are giving to a good cause that they believe in. It's this transactional money that is done not in the best interest of voters.
And it's the out of area, but like Fair Shake was one that here in Illinois just unloaded $10 million on our primaries, and they're welling up to do the same in the upcoming elections in November. So. All right, cool. I wanted to kind of get your take on that. Jordan, we have a caller that from South Carolina that wanted to just ask a question or make a statement about something that's one of his observations about what's happening in Maine. Maybe you can give some response to this. Leo, welcome to the show.
Good morning, guys. So I used to live in New Hampshire, and I actually delivered to the coast of Maine and sometimes would come inland. I know in New Hampshire, they're 95% white, so I would assume the Maine demographic is about the same really outside of Portland. And, yeah, I agree with you. I was there 2018 through, like, 2020-ish, and the Trump signs wasn't the issue. Like, the Trump shrines, people would have these massive displays of Trump paraphernalia, and it was disgusting. But what was worse was when I would get like 3 hours from Canada and see Confederate flags. Talk about out of place.
Yeah.
So how is the demographic in Maine?
Yeah, and we'll let Jordan answer offline. Thanks, Leo, for the call. We appreciate it. Go ahead, Jordan. Sorry about that. Demographic. What are you seeing there? His statement was he thinks that one of the reasons that Maine has moved and shifted to the way that it has is that Maine has become more white. Talk to us.
Well, Maine is correct. I said one of the whitest states in the country. It's over 90%. It's been that way for a very long time, though. And we also have the oldest population in the country. And the caller, Leo's observation about the Confederate flags is a very good one, because Maine we had the highest percentage per capita of soldiers who died fighting for the Union. So there is no historical or heritage ties to the Confederacy, and that is just a statement of hate and bigotry and racism, and it is something that we absolutely have to confront. And I actually had a town hall just a couple of months ago up north in Holton near the border, and had somebody come that was extremely racist, and I just confronted it with the truth. He was spreading conspiracy theories he'd read on Facebook, both about illegal voting, fraud that does not happen, but also the idea that a specific immigrant community, Somalis, which we have in Maine, were engaged in widespread fraud. And I think we've got to take those opportunities when you're dealing with somebody who is not living in reality to deliver the truth. And that's what we did, and I think it resonated. But yeah, I mean, I think that what the caller said is absolutely true. It is something that we continually go up against, but I feel confident that's a small segment of the electorate.
Yeah, I see that, and I think a lot of people who aren't familiar with Maine may look at that in a little bit differently because, if it's older and if it's white, is it automatically a stereotype that we can or a label, maybe not a stereotype, but a label that we can associate with that demographic? And I don't think that's always the case. Older and white doesn't necessarily mean racist and biased. It just means older and white. And so I think that what's probably a bigger concern, and racism is a big concern, and it's just not steering away from that. But I think the bigger concern right now is going back to something that you said earlier: the cost of living, inflation, the school education, school systems. And I'm just curious how the state is going to really deal with this in such a politically divided climate, and how if you were to win this seat, what are you going to be able to bring back to the folks there that elected you to say, listen, we've got our thumb on the pulse of what's going on, and we are going to work to fix these housing issues, these inflation issues, these educational issues in our schools?
Yeah, I mean, I think about the affordability crisis really what the drivers for that are. The number one is healthcare. We are potentially looking at 5 rural hospitals closing because of cuts from Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. Tens of thousands of people could lose, we call it Maine Care, but it's our Medicaid expansion program. And, I believe that until we get a healthcare system that is not driven by for-profit health insurance companies and big pharmaceutical companies, we are going to continually have a broken system that is lacking full coverage and affordability. And so I support Medicare for all, but putting us on a track towards that with a public option. And that's the type of systematic change that voters want, and they know that I will fight for in Congress. Another issue is childcare. We not only is childcare becoming so expensive for people in Maine that they're not having families, but half of Maine is in a childcare desert. So even if you wanted to start a family, you would not have access to childcare. And so I support universal childcare capped at $10 a day per child. And I believe that we can build a system like we have for public education. And this would be a huge economic relief for people, but also allow them to achieve the future that they want. And then energy costs. The war in Iran, the senseless, lawless war that has just been a disaster. But for Maine, it's not just the gas prices; it's also diesel. Because we're so rural, we bear the cost of increased trucking costs, but also our lobster boats. It's big industry here, run on diesel. We're also the number one state still relying on heating oil. So those combination of factors all build on each other. I think that we have got to achieve energy independence through renewable sources. And in Maine, we have a wind corridor off the coast and in the Gulf of Maine that if Paul LePage and Donald Trump recently had not stopped offshore wind development, we could have actually generated enough electricity to move us off natural gas in the state. So all of these, I think, are big goals and big solutions, but we have big problems. And I think that that's what the people of Maine, but across the country, are looking for, is people that see how broken these things are and the need for transformative change like we've had at different periods in our country when we've had similar crises. Yeah,
that's a great way to sum things up. Jordan, how can folks find you, get involved with your campaign real quick?
Yeah, electjordan.com and on social media, Jordan Wood Maine or Jordan Wood ME. We need all the help we can get. It's going to be a very expensive, difficult campaign ahead.
All right, Jordan, thanks for being with us this morning. Jordan Wood, y'all. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Be safe and good luck in your race. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thanks for having me. Bye, Richard.
All right, bye now. 773-763-9278 is the number. This is Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu, and we'll be right back.
Would it be crazy if you packed your bags and left? For a week, a month, a year. What if you left for 2 years? What if you were going far away to help in a village on the edge of the Gobi Desert? To teach children and learn a thing or two about yourself? Would that be crazy? Peace Corps. Life is calling. How far will you go?
This is your WCPT Progressive Calendar. Thursday, May 14th at 6:30 p.m., the Network for Responsible Public Policy presents a Zoom webinar and Facebook Live event, The Political Narratives That Define Us and Divide Us, featuring Leonard Steinhorn, political analyst, author, and professor of communication and history at the American University. The goal of the event isn't just to understand what defines us, but to start figuring out how we can bridge those divides and move forward together. Visit nfrpp.org to register for this free event and learn more. Thursday, May 7th from 6 to 7 p.m., join the Chicago Growth Project in planning for Chicago School Board, mayoral, and city council elections. Volunteers will help plan events, brainstorm future initiatives, create social media content, design graphics, and research candidate and policies. This free get-together will take place on the 5th floor of the Harold Washington Library Center at 400 South State Street in Chicago. That's been your WCPT Progressive Calendar.
This is WCPT 820, where you can hear The Stephanie Miller Show every weekday, 8 to 11 a.m., because facts matter.
Amazon Business. With smart business buying, innovative AI tools optimize your purchasing experience, paired with delivery options built for business. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth will face a new round of questioning from lawmakers this morning over the Iran war, including from some Republicans who have expressed concerns over the length of the conflict and its lack of congressional approval. Yesterday, President Trump said the ceasefire is on, quote, massive life support, and criticized Iran for its latest proposal, pointing to his demands that Iran significantly limit its nuclear program. Meanwhile, Kuwait is accusing Iran of sending an armed paramilitary Revolutionary Guard team to launch a failed attack earlier this month on an island in the Middle East nation that's home to a China-funded port project. The accusation comes just before Trump travels to Beijing for a meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. In other news, AP correspondent Haya Panjwani reports on today's redistricting efforts in 3 states.
Missouri's new U.S. House map is going to court while Louisiana and South Carolina are considering redistricting. The Missouri Supreme Court is to hear arguments on 2 cases. One contends the new map backed by President Donald Trump should be tossed out because the districts are not compact. The other contends that the new district should have been suspended when opponents submitted petition signatures seeking a referendum. Meanwhile, legislative committees in Louisiana and South Carolina are both considering redistricting plans that could help Republicans win additional seats. I'm Haya Panjwani.
The White House Correspondents' Dinner attack suspect pleaded not guilty yesterday to charges that he attempted to kill Trump. Cole Thomas Allen appeared in federal court in Washington. He's accused of trying to storm the dinner while armed with guns and knives. More stories at apnews.com. This is AP News. Civil rights attorney Demario Solomon Simmons has been campaigning for reparations for survivors and descendants of the Tulsa race riots.
His new book, Redeem a Nation, the century-long battle to restore the soul of America, comes just months before the U.S. marks 250 years since its founding. It explores the fight for justice.
The first thing people say is, I didn't do it. Second thing they say, there was nobody here that suffered it that's still alive. Well, we know who did the massacre. The perpetrators are still living in Tulsa. The city's still living. The chamber's still living, etc. And we have a living, breathing person that suffered it.
The Tulsa Massacre in 1921 destroyed the prosperous black community of Greenwood, displacing thousands. Solomon Simmons argues America must address these past wrongs to move forward. I'm Julie Walker.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, look for partial sunshine at times. Do have a chance for some scattered showers and storms mainly into the afternoon with high temperatures into the upper 70s. Winds becoming gusty, turning to the southwest, increasing to 20 to 25. For tonight, still a chance for showers and storms in the evening, overnight lows in the lower 50s, and for Wednesday, partial sun, high of 62. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 46.
Life is full of balance, but if you are one of the millions of people affected by dizziness, vertigo, and imbalance, finding your footing isn't as easy as it seems. These conditions disrupt daily life and rob people of their independence. They are often misdiagnosed by healthcare providers, and some people are told that their symptoms are all in their head or that they are just due to stress. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Do you often feel dizzy and foggy-headed? Do you reach out for the wall to keep yourself from falling over? Do you experience a constant ringing in your ears? If you answered yes, you might have a problem with your inner ear. But there's hope. Visit liferebalanced.org or call 800-837-8428 to learn how you can get better. Again, that's 800-837-8428. Sponsored by the Vestibular Disorders Association.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us this morning, and thanks to Jordan Wood, who's running for Congress in Maine, for hanging out with us a little bit in the previous segment. I guess it's kind of like me showing off my states and places that I've been. I was saying that Maine was my last state of my 50 in 2016, where I spent 3 days in all 50 states in the country. Well, one of the first states other than Illinois that I visited as a wee little boy, as a baby, was driving down to Mississippi with my family. Arkansas would be the third state that I visited as a child on our way to visit our family in Mississippi. Way. When people go back in the day, I can go way back in the day. But Arkansas has had some phenomenal leaders, political leaders over the years. You guys all recognize the fact that Bill Clinton from Arkansas. And today we have someone that's picked up the baton and said, I'm still running. I'm still in this fight. I'm going to call him Dr. Jones, not in any way other than funny comment about, we have another Dr. Jones that's a scientist at heart, an engineer at heart, that's decided that he's searching for the Ark of the Covenant in modern day times, and that's the change our political arc in the state of Arkansas, and thereby changing the political arc of our country. Chris Jones is with us from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and he is running for the congressional seat in Arkansas's 2nd Congressional District. Good morning, Dr. Jones, and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning. And I would guess you probably have family in Arkansas because all roads lead back here.
Arkansas, Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi.
There you go.
Yeah, there's not a southern state in the quote unquote what are considered the southern states that I don't have a family member in. I have to do an update, but I've got family members I think in 27 states in the country based on the growth and the migration of all of our families, particularly those of us who come from the South, the Black South particularly. So, yeah, Doc, we're all over the place. Like I'm sure you are as well. Your family is as well.
Oh, yeah. But we had a large migration up to Chicago in my family. Yeah. And so I have a ton of family up there. So, we're connected. Yes,
we are. Yes. As one of my good friends says, he's also a cousin. We're cousins in one way or the other. We're cousins. There you go. So, Dr. Jones, thanks for being with us this morning. You are running for all of the states are important right now. And with what recently came down last week from the Supreme Court, and now what as at the end of last week that Florida and Tennessee and Alabama are saying, and Louisiana's next. Your state's on the list of states that are basically saying we don't give a damn about people that are not white straight males, Christian white straight males in this country being able to vote. That's at the bottom line what it is. And you may have heard Chris Chambers the other day when he sat in front of the Louisiana legislature. Gary, I'm sorry, Gary Chambers. Sorry about that. Thank you. Giving them hell appropriately about this is about primarily one thing. Let's keep it real. It's about disenfranchising black folks from voting and then the domino effect of everybody else. So let's talk about that on a political and a personal level, how you are dealing with this, how you're recognizing and working through this as a candidate and as a individual.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you again for having me on. These are challenging and exciting times, and I knew that when I ran for governor, and I see it now. Just quick context in Arkansas. You know, we're certainly often overlooked, but we certainly often lead the way in many places, in many areas. You know, you talked about Bill Clinton leading the way. We got John Johnson leading the way. You know. Now, when we talk about this redistricting issue, the seat that I'm running for, in 2018, Democrats almost won this seat we lost by 15,000 votes.
Okay.
Close race. And you know what their response was? To chop up our largest city, the capital city, Little Rock, into 3 different districts. So they took about 25,000 mostly black votes out of our district and brought in 25,000 mostly Republican white votes into the district. Why? Because of exactly what they're doing now. So they've run this playbook before. The good news is that we understand how to compete in this environment now. Yeah. And I ran for governor, which set the stage for us to be under the new lines, which set the stage for us to be competitive. And, you know, the thing that I need people to understand is that this seat is, although it's written off, it is way more competitive than people understand. My polling had it as a 1-point race.
Wow. What's brought it to be that close? I mean, other than maybe some of the obvious things, but what are some of the subtleties that's brought this race this close?
You know, certainly the obvious. I want to make sure people understand that. You know, the affordability, gas, groceries are hitting folks, and we are a large farming state. So farmers can't buy fertilizer. They're realizing that the things that they were promised, no wars, release of Epstein files, you name it, it's not being delivered upon. And they're actually blaming our congressional representatives. Now, some of them won't blame Trump for it, but they'll certainly blame our congressional delegation. So the person I'm running against, that's one. 2, it's about who we're fighting for. People want somebody to fight for them. And I'm running on behalf of families, and folks know that in large part because I ran for governor and I showed up everywhere. Meanwhile, French Hill, he represents banking. He's a banker, and so he supports banking. He's the guy who increased bank fees, overdraft fees.
Overdraft fees, yeah.
They are higher now because of his lead in his vote. So those are 2 big reasons why people are saying, you know what, it's time for something different.
Well, Dr. Jones, one of the other things, too, that I want to ask you about in terms of what people are saying, I know that our party is working its tail off to shore up our shortcomings on a state level and on a federal level. And I know that our party's ideas are better. And when we have control of state legislatures, and when we will have in this fall, control at least the House of Representatives, we get stuff done. We just do. And that's one of the things that when you said the good news, the good news is we are not the party that took us to war. We're not the party that decided to drop tariffs on our allies, let alone our non-allies. We're not the party that decided that they were going to take away medical coverage opportunities for Americans.
Right.
That's not our party. And if those are the 3 things that people say they voted on, and we want to believe and say that they didn't vote for Kamala Harris because she's black and she's a woman, or she's of color and a woman, and they truly voted on those things, then they need to get out. They need to come out of the fever and change. If that's truly what they voted on, if they truly voted on that, And even on immigration, and your state has challenges isn't the right word, but you have a high profile when it comes to immigration and workers here. If they voted on those 4 things, then they need to come out of the fever and change course. Fair statement?
Yeah.
And I'm talking to Republicans, by the way. That's what I'm talking to. They need to come out of the fever.
100%. You know, and we see that. If we're being honest, here's what happens oftentimes. You know, there's a group of them that will realize they were lied to, they were duped, and they won't vote for a Republican in the next cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a subset of them will vote for me.
Okay.
But there are some of them who will say, look, I cannot vote for a Republican. Now, the reason is because Republicans have done a phenomenal job at branding Democrats as worse than the Antichrist.
Mm-hmm.
They've done it. And we break that by showing up, engaging with them in community, everyone in the community. And that's what I've done. So I'll be able to capture some of those votes in large part because proximity is what breaks that narrative that they have about Democrats are worse than the Antichrist.
Yeah. So what happens if Donald Trump does what I'm sure you're familiar with Sean Harris, the farmer, the brother who ran and is still running and fighting hard. So he's a real deal because he didn't walk away. Yeah. He's still fighting hard and got close. Close doesn't win, but it does speak to where the shifts are. But one of the only thing that helped him in that race, frankly, is the fact that there was a bunch of money thrown in by outside interests. Trump and his boys and girls threw a bunch of money toward Clay Fuller, who is highly incompetent, candidly.
Completely.
And not even close to bringing what Sean would bring to the entire state and the country. Is there an element like that's coming your way as it relates to this congressional seat and the money that the outside interest could throw at it?
Yeah, certainly. And that's why we need resources in our coffers as soon as possible. What their model, at least in this seat, and I'll just kind of, for those who don't know Arkansas, the 2nd congressional district is in central Arkansas. It's Little Rock. It includes our largest urban population, but it also includes very rural populations. We got 8 counties that we're covering. Now, in this particular seat, their model has been over the last decade, French Hills I'm running against, and what they do is they wait to the last month and a half, and then they'll blast ads that say, oh, he's a complete radical, he's a socialist, Marxist, these progressives, he hangs out with AOC and Nancy Pelosi and all of that's what they'll run. And what it does is it plays on the fears that people have because of the narrative they have in their heads. Mm-hmm. So we're expecting them to do that. We're already warning folks that it's coming. And that's part of what helps us, but we know it's coming. We know it's coming because they need the seat.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to take a quick break, Dr. Jones. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from WARR in Warren County, North Carolina, as well as our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu, and we're talking with Dr. Chris Jones, who is running for Arkansas's 2nd congressional seat, and we'll be right back.
Not all people are the same, and yet when we visit the doctor, our treatments don't look that different. Why is that? Because we just don't have enough information to do it better. By gathering health data from 1 million people, our country's best researchers will be able to develop treatments that are as unique and complex as we are. With this new information, doctors will have a better understanding of disease so they can innovate the next great breakthroughs in medicine. Learn more at joinallofus.org.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com. 1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
Kids across America are going to school hungry. Millions of kids every day. But one simple thing can help change all of this for a hungry child in America. Good, healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
No fake news here. It's Choose Views with Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us this morning. We are talking with candidate for the 2nd Congressional District in Arkansas, Dr. Chris Jones. Dr. Jones, okay, so historically, what you said before we went to the break about how the Republican Party will just launch a bunch of negative ads about you and, or not just you, but the candidates running against one of their Republican, effectless, been there way too long, not getting anything done candidates. And then they'll throw a bunch of money at it. There'll be wash, rinse, repeat. There won't be things that get done for the state. He'll keep passing legislation that's about taking things away from people and bias and fear-mongering legislation versus things that are going to actually help the state of Arkansas. Not just your congressional district, but because one district helps another district, which helps another district, which helps another district. It's a domino effect. So he's been one of the folks at the tip of the spear of not getting things done for the state of Arkansas.
Absolutely.
So how are you guys going to be able to tag him with that? Because he's got a history of that, and he's directly aligned with Trump and Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. And so that's the thing. No matter what ad they run, when folks go to the gas pump, they see that their gas prices are over $4. Farmers are seeing diesel prices over $5. And what they realize is that it's a choice. This unwanted war in Iran, the tariffs are driving up costs. And they remember that. When we have the highest rate of child hunger in our state compared to any other state in the nation. They remember that. Our health care costs were lower because we're the only southern state that the population voted to expand the ACA.
Yep.
And so our hospitals stayed open. But now with the cuts to the ACA, what we're seeing is that we just had a hospital close in Jacksonville. We got another one at risk of closing in Fort Smith. And they understand when I can't get to a hospital, and now it takes 2 hours instead of 30 minutes or 15 minutes, which already was too long, they're realizing that pain. So our job is to remind them that the reason they're feeling that pain is because of someone's choice. I'm a physicist, and I understand gravity. And I tell folks, gravity, we can't change gravity. You can't fight it. It's there. But these things that we're facing, they're a choice. They're not like gravity. We can change them.
Yeah, and I think that the message, the message has to continue to be, certainly part of it, that the Republicans are the ones that got us here. Because
they are the ones.
They've been the ones in control of the state legislature in Arkansas, just like this last cycle. In Washington. I mean, they've got us here. And by their inaction in Washington, which I've said dozens of times here on my show, the inactions it's not Congress. We have to stop saying Congress. We have to start saying the Republicans.
Yes.
The House of Representatives and the Republicans in the Senate are the ones that got us here, and largely because of their inaction with what they should be able to do, or should be doing, rather, when it comes to Trump. It's not rockets. I mean, I shouldn't say that to you of all people, but sorry about that. Wow.
If it was, we could do it.
That's where
look,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. This is great, Richard, because it is both. I would argue it is both their inaction and their action.
Okay.
They are proactively doing things to harm us. When you give the president more powers, that's action that's harming us. When you cut resources that go to our states and then try to pretend like, one big beautiful bill cut billions of dollars for healthcare and food supports, and then they want to pretend like $80 million is going to help us. When you show, what are you talking about? When you cut funding for HBCUs and then show up for a photo op saying, "Hey, look at me, I'm doing something." Like, no, you actively cut funding for HBCUs, and they should pay a political price for their politics. The Republican leadership, and just like you said, Arkansas has been under Republican control, and yet we've dropped in education. Yeah. We've dropped in our healthcare outcomes. We've dropped in food security. So all of those things are happening under Republican leadership. That has to change.
Meanwhile, infant mortality rates have gone up in the state. Maternity mortality rates have gone up. And it's interesting. This is what's so crazy. This is a state where Roe v. Wade is the, it's like talking about the Antichrist. You use your words from earlier. Yeah. At the same time, when a woman gets pregnant and is in the process of this beautiful thing, which is getting us on this planet Earth, right, the mortality rate, the maternal mortality rate is increasing at the hands of the party that said they really give a damn about children and babies, when in fact they don't. Because if they did, then they would make sure that the funding, and this is where the integration between the state legislature and Congress is so important.
Yes.
Help us out there.
I mean, look, you nailed it, Richard. It's like, here's the deal. You can't say you care about children and then be the only state that doesn't provide health care to mothers for 12 months. Mm-hmm. We're the only state in the union. You can't say you care about children and then lead the nation in taking public education dollars and sending it to private and religious schools. And that's what we're seeing in Arkansas. And what I am hopeful about is that when we shine a light on things and when we clarify, people are feeling the pain. That you cannot deny the pain, no matter how hard you try it. What you can do is confuse folks and get them to think that it's Obama's fault that the gas prices are high. Like, are you kidding me? We have to remember, no. Obama has been in office, out of office. So let's remember, he's not in charge anymore. This is all at the foot of Republicans and Trump, and we have to remind folks that, and that's what will help get the vote out. One other thing I'll tell you is that Black folks are fired up.
That's good to hear.
Black folks who have been on the couch historically are fired up. We saw it in our primary, which was March 3rd, where we had higher voter turnout than expected. I got 93% of the Democratic vote in the primary election.
Wow, Dr. That's just powerful. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to wrap up so we can let folks know how to find you and all that good stuff. But I want to we got to have you back on, Dr. Jones. We got to do this again because we got to help you get across this finish line. And bring all the resources that we can to bear to help get that done. How can folks find you, and how can folks get involved in your congressional campaign?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'll say this. You can find me at Jones4AR on social media. You can go to chrisjonesforcongress.com. That's chrisjonesforcongress.com on our website. This race is bigger than Arkansas. If we compete and win in this state, the state that people overlook, then we can build a broader coalition that actually gets at the things that are rooted in dignity, service, and economic fairness. And that's what I'm fighting for. chrisjonesforcongress.com or Jones4AR on social media.
Dr. Jones, we will have you back again, and hopefully you and I will be able to find and find the Ark of the Covenant in terms of political.
Let's find it. And we got to get you back down here to your third state.
That's right, my third state. Dr. Jones, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. Much success. We'll talk with you soon. Have a great rest of the day, okay?
You too.
All right, bye now. Guys, let's go to a quick break. 773-763-9278 is our number. You are listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I am Richard Chu, and we will be right back.
Would it be crazy if you packed your bags and left? For a week, a month, a year. What if you left for 2 years? What if you were going far away to help in a village on the edge of the Gobi Desert? To teach children and learn a thing or two about yourself? Would that be crazy? Peace Corps. Life is calling. How far will you go?
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. Captain Hugh Molzak's love for the sea started after he finished high school as he served the British Sooners and in 1918 immigrated to the United States. Within 2 years of joining the Marines, Molzak earned his Shipping Master Certificate, the first African American to do so. In 1921, Molzak was promoted to the rank of captain. In 1942, the SS Booker T. Washington, the first ship to be named after an African American, was created, and Molzak was offered the position of captain, but he turned it down at first as the Marines did not want to have an integrated crew. Molzak stood firm on his beliefs, stating, "Under no circumstances will I command a Jim Crow," and Molzak became the first African-American captain of the first ever integrated crew. Under Captain Molzak, over 18,000 troops were sent to the European war front, and ships carrying tanks, aircrafts, and ammunition to United States troops in World War II. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
Tune into the Thom Hartmann radio program, your home for news, opinion, and insight, right here on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
My husband and I were ready to sell our home of 25 years, so we got it appraised. We thought we knew what to expect, but when our home appraisal came back, we felt robbed. Compared to a similar home right around the corner, our appraisal was $80,000 less. That's a big difference. It was the same type of home in the same neighborhood in the same condition and age.
A recent study found that Latino and Black homeowners are about twice as likely as white homeowners to get low appraisals. For example, one Black homeowner received an appraisal more than double the original after removing family photos, Black art, and books from her home. If you believe your home has been unfairly appraised because of race or national origin, that could violate the Fair Housing Act. Contact HUD at hud.gov/fairhousing. That's hud.gov/fairhousing. Everyone has a right to fair housing. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, look for partial sunshine at times. Do have a chance for some scattered showers and storms mainly into the afternoon with high temperatures into the upper 70s. Winds becoming gusty, turning to the southwest, increasing to 20 to 25. For tonight, still a chance for showers and storms in the evening, overnight lows in the lower 50s. And for Wednesday, partial sun, high of 62. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 46.
This is WCPT 820. Where facts matter.
Mike's on, truth's out. This is Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us. If you're just tuning in, this is Choose Views, and I'm Richard Chu. Thanks to Dr. Chris Jones in Arkansas for hanging out with us. He's running for Congress. And he's doing what our next guest would be probably very proud of, and that's seeing another scientist get involved in politics and be involved and bring that knowledge and that smart stuff to running for office. With us this morning is a guest that we've had on before. She's become a friend of the show, a senior fellow at Yale School of Public Health, adjunct professor at Emory University. I forgot to talk to her about this last time. She gave commencement at Morehouse College. Former chief medical officer at the Centers for Disease Control, has become one of my new favorite doctors and just leaders in this struggle that we're in right now, is Dr. Debra Houry. Good morning, Dr. Houry. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm great. It's been a busy week.
Yeah, you think? Wow. I thought about our segment today, and I was like, where do we even start? I mean, okay, so you have this big smile on your face, and I know that is keeping you moving forward and keeping you solid right now. But I'd like to take a moment just real quickly to ask you to explain what the hantavirus is. I think a lot of people hear it, and just because of their busy schedules and all the things that are going on with so many people in America, they don't really know what it is. So take a moment and just tell the audience across the country what this virus is, and then we'll get into some of the more political conversations around what's happening with the CDC.
So, hantavirus is a fairly rare virus, but the good news is it's not unknown to us. We've known about it for about 30 years in the United States. We see it more out west, and it usually comes from rodent droppings and rodent urine, and it's when you're cleaning them up that you can inhale it. There is one particular strain called the Andes virus, which is found in Argentina, and that can transmit person to person. And that's what's different about this type of hantavirus. It's not unexpected. It's just much more rare. And so it's a virus that will stay in your system and not show symptoms, for up to 6 weeks. And I think that's what makes this different than other viruses is the long incubation period. And unfortunately, it's a very serious virus too. About 30 to 50% of people that get it can die.
Wow. I saw a gentleman, he was talking about a member of his family having contracted it. I think it was his mother and his sister, and they didn't know what it was. A gentleman out in Arizona said that, and this is going back during COVID is when this happened, and they contracted it, didn't know what it was, and then he got it. And his symptoms were coughing, cold, sneezing, body aches. He said, this is the thing that stuck with me. In Arizona, he said, it was stupid hot one day, and I'm outside and I'm freezing. And he said, this is just weird. This doesn't make any sense. And so he decided to go see his doctor, and the doctor tested, and then they ran some more tests, and they immediately admitted him into the ICU unit. They saved his life, of course. But that's how it snuck up on him. And so the trouble is that his mother ended up, unfortunately, dying from it. And then this is, obviously the tragedy of that. But that's what I've heard. It can sneak up on you because its symptoms are not ones that we wouldn't necessarily be alarmed by if we've contracted it, because it seems like it's, in some cases, an everyday cold. Is that an over-exaggeration?
It's hard to say because we have about 30 cases a year that we diagnose in the United States, but the patients that we've seen with the Andes strain so far, the ones on the cruise ship, they've been fairly sick, with high fevers, some requiring ICU care. I think what's difficult about hantavirus is I can tell you in the ER, this was not on the top of my list. If somebody came in to see me, so there can be a delayed diagnosis. Mm-hmm. What is fortunate, if you want to call it that, with the cruise passengers is since we know they've been exposed to hantavirus, if they exhibit symptoms, people will know what to intervene and what to do quickly versus a delay of a diagnosis.
Got it. Okay. I think that a lot of people have to the extent that folks have been paying attention, given all that's going on right now, I just wanted to have a moment where you could share what it is and how it's transmitted, because I think that, unfortunately, because of the just malpractice of how the COVID was handled in the Trump first administration, too many people, I should say, are thinking that is this going to be a repeat of COVID, and are we going to have the protocols in place to help protect us from it if it were to become an outbreak like that? It doesn't sound like we would have the same sort of escalation of it just by nature of the disease. Is that part of what, I guess you could say, favors us this time around?
Yeah, and I think, that's what helps when you don't have the infrastructure you need is you look at the disease itself.
Wait, here's the crazy part. You got to be sitting there going, scratching your head. We had the infrastructure at the CDC, but we had an administration that didn't give a damn. But now we have both. We don't have an infrastructure and we don't have an administration that really gives a damn. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so that's why I'd say, with hantavirus, at least, with what we know, the people who've transmitted it before have had symptoms. They have not been asymptomatic, so that's different from COVID. We've had just a few when you have it, you also have to be pretty close contact to transmit it as well, different than COVID and measles. So because of that, I do think we will be able to contain it in the United States. But you're right. I do have concerns about this administration's ability to handle it, particularly when you look at things like it came globally. Yeah. And, with our withdrawal from the World Health Organization, I've been saying, I'm an ER doc, and I've learned that an emergency is not the best time to get to know people. And, CDC is able to work with the World Health Organization now because it's an emergency. But you really want those relationships to be maintained and in place separate from an emergency. And then just last week, the Department of State changed the funding to CDC for global health, which will further decrease visibility in countries. So should this happen, in another country that we don't have that partnership with, we won't know about it.
Yeah, and that's the part where I think so many Americans, you can't, well, this is good. I'm pointing fingers, but in a good way. This time around, we don't have the luxury of saying, oh, it's not going to get to us. It's not going to be our issue. It's not going to happen to us. Because we saw last time when with COVID, that was the approach that was taken, and denial and heads in the sand from the administration and too many other folks, and we got way out of hand. This time we don't have the luxury. We never really should have thought that we do, but we certainly, to your point, this time can't, because the guardrails that we had in place don't exist this time around. I'm going to kind of go back and forth on a few things here, but because I don't want to forget, I don't want to miss something that you just recently did in an article that you posted entitled "Harm Reduction Works, Wellness Farms Won't." Talk a little bit about that article and getting into the conversation around overdose. Help us with that. Help us to explain to the audience what you're meaning. And I've read the article, but I want our audience to know a little bit more about what you were saying and bringing attention to.
Yeah, and this is pretty personal for me. One of the other hats I've had in my life is I was a substance use physician, where I'd work in a clinic treating people that had misused opioids and needed help. And so I've seen the full spectrum, and I've seen people's lives be saved. And this is not going to help. This is actually going to result in people dying. What has happened is the Department of Health and Human Services, under Secretary Kennedy, has changed funding for many federal agencies to no longer allow fentanyl test strips or syringes for syringe exchange programs, and to also recommend counseling as part of medication-assisted therapy. What this means is fentanyl test strips. You see these in colleges now.
Right.
They're giving them out so that a college student won't have a fatal overdose. They know what's in their drugs. This doesn't mean that you're just going to go out and use drugs because they're safe. What the data shows is it means that you're more likely to seek care, to do things thoughtfully, and maybe get linked to a primary care doc or a substance use doctor in the future. And it opens that dialogue. Similarly, for syringes, we don't want to see what we saw, in Scott County, Indiana, under former Vice President Pence, a huge HIV outbreak.
Yep.
And what I thought was, I included this in the article, Vice President Pence was not supportive of syringe exchange programs, but he listened to Dr. Jerome Adams, who ended up becoming the Surgeon General under the first Trump administration, who showed him the data and science that this was about saving lives, and syringes for the syringe exchange programs saved lives. And they also linked people to care. People that, are in part of these programs were more likely to stop using drugs and to get treatment for infection. So these are life-saving programs that we are taking away from people.
One of the things that and thank you for that. And I know that your time is tight this morning, so we'll probably take an early break in a second. But one of the things I want to say before we go to the break, to come back to your point, prevention is so incredibly important. I know you know this as a physician, as a caring individual first and foremost, but prevention is so important. And when we don't have a mindset that says we can reduce cost on so many of our medical and health related issues if we look at things at an early stage. And so, hey, we don't have to fix it. We just stop it from happening in the first doggone place. Talk a little bit about why that's such a passionate thing for you. I'm probably being more passionate about it this morning than you are.
No, that was one of the reasons why when I was at CDC, I really got drug-free communities brought to CDC, because for me, it was like working with 700 different youth groups across the nation to look at primary prevention, which means, getting people to not use drugs in the first place, to look at things like childhood trauma, connectedness, school-based programs, all the things that can really protect you from substance use or lessen the likelihood that you're going to do it. And then there's the other end of the spectrum, which was what my article was about, that if you are using drugs, there's ways to prevent you from dying from an overdose. And we need to have the full spectrum. For me, at CDC and public health, preventing, in the first place is really important. But in my mind, you have to have all aspects of prevention, and every life matters.
Yeah, without a doubt. Dr. Debra Houry is with us. Let's take a quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. And now, AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu, and we'll be right back.
That's the sound of the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, saving you money and energy. With rebates on Energy Star appliances, so you can come back to a home full of savings. Discover more ways to save at ComEd.com/home savings. ComEd, powering lives.
Those headaches and stomach aches your child gets may be migraine. 10% of children and 28% of adolescents have migraine disease. Migraine at School can help. Learn more at migraineatschool.org. As a parent, I know how migraine impacts my daughter's ability to learn. Every child deserves the chance to flourish in school. Visit migraineatschool.org. Sponsored by the Coalition for Headache and Migraine Patients.
Are you excited about being a new grandmother?
Of course I am. A little intimidated, too.
Why?
Taking care of a baby today is so different than when I had you.
But, Mom, you did great with me.
Thanks, son. But I put you on your stomach to sleep.
Right. But now we know that babies should always be placed on their backs to sleep, for naps and at night, to reduce the risk of sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS.
You also slept with blankets and toys in your crib.
True, but now we know to keep everything out of the crib except for my sweet baby girl. No blankets, pillows, or other soft or loose items.
Daddy's going to teach Nana all the ways to keep you safe while you sleep. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
For more tips on safe sleep for babies, visit safetosleep.nichd.nih.gov. That's safetosleep.nichd.nih.gov. Sponsored by the Eunice Kennedy Shriver National Institute of Child Health and Human Development.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Don't hit that snooze button. It's time for Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. We are so blessed and honored to have Dr. Debra Houry with us this morning yet again. She has become a voice. It's interesting how the downside of having to leave the CDC has really, she's gone from a plate to a platter of being busy and doing stuff and having influence. But we love that about you, Dr. Houry, and so honored to always have you as a guest on our show. I got to ask you this question about how the mismanagement in the medical area or in bad health policies, maybe a better way of putting it, bad CDC management is contributing to issues with our environment. Talk a little bit about what you've seen and what you know is a potential problem when we've got bad health policy, when we've got bad leaders in our health conversation, and how that's negatively affecting our environment.
I think part of it is just that the current leaders at Health and Human Services don't follow science and data and have significant conflicts of interest. And we've seen that drive, much of the guidance that comes out. I am very much for safe food and safe water, but we need to do so in a scientifically driven way and, not follow conspiracy theories, which, the secretary tends to promote. And what we need too is to really bring back a lot of the career staff at CDC. Right now, many have been terminated or on administrative leave, and they continue to bring in political leaders who don't have this background, that are the ones that are clearing scientific guidance that comes from CDC. So in my mind, I've been busy recently doing a lot of speaking, but I said it'd be great if we hear from people at the CDC, the scientists as well, because then I wouldn't need to be out and about so much.
Well, I think the good thing is that more people have been exposed. What's kind of crazily interesting and unique is that because of this awful decision at the CDC, not by the people who are the folks that are working there and those hardworking folks that have committed to a better place for us, but the decisions, of course, of the administration and of Trump more specifically. You being out, though, is actually exposing the things that need to be exposed and where we need to be moving in terms of being in a better direction. So it's kind of a crazy set of circumstances, but the fact that you are out and speaking more and doing all these other things has actually brought awareness that a lot of people didn't know because they don't know the inner workings or the mind of someone like you to speak in this area. A lot of the inefficiencies that are taking place right now is that we're spending unnecessary money on things that we could spend money one time essentially and then not have to spend money again to figure out that we made a mistake. And it seems as though this is what Bobby Kennedy Jr. is doing. We're spending money and then we're having to spend more money. Talk a little bit about that inefficiency that you've seen.
I think part of it too is we're seeing other, institutions or sectors pick up the work of federal government because it's not being done effectively. And you'd mentioned Minneapolis. I'm actually going to be there on Monday for the school public health commencement. And they are doing some fantastic work as a result of what the federal government is failing at. And one of those things is the Vaccine Integrity Project, or CIDRAP. And that's because we're not seeing scientifically driven information about vaccines coming out. So, University of Minnesota has really taken that on to do the evidence reviews. And so in my mind, that's an example of inefficiency to where the federal government was doing this. They still got funding going towards this work, but no one is paying attention to vaccine guidance coming from CDC at this point, given the conflicts of interest and the inaccurate information that the secretary has been promoting. So they're looking at other places that are developing it now, such as American Academy of Pediatrics and University of Minnesota.
How are people looking at, the Iran war, no one has to be an expert in understanding that the spending that's going toward the war and more that's going to happen is money that can go to so many different places that we need right here at home. I've done some simple math over the last few weeks of saying, if we took $25 billion and just took the top 25 or 50 cities in America, what could those cities do, whether they be blue or red or purple for that matter politically, what they could do to improve their cities. And I think the CDC is another example. That's an area that needs to be more robustly built up. Give us your thoughts there if you can.
100%. I think we all know prevention is much more efficient and much more effective and will save lives long term. And so if you're able to invest in things like cancer screening, oral health, overdose prevention, all of that can ensure that we live, healthier lives and thrive. And by taking away those services and that expertise, we're not going to end chronic disease. We're going to actually accelerate chronic disease.
Yeah. On an upside, as we wrap up today, Dr. Houry, and thank you so much for hanging out with us again this morning. You are part of this dream team that I have to remind people of. Erica Pan, Susan Monarez, and Caitlin Jetlina Talk a little bit about what it's like working with them now, as you guys are part of PHNIX and you're part of this just sort of huge brain trust of people that know what the hell they're doing in this space. What's that been like for you as the weeks and months have gone by?
For me, it's been inspiring, just to be able to do what I care about, which is, public health and saving lives and using innovation and learning from, top communicator, Caitlin Jettalina. Dr. Pon has been a wonderful state health officer and has been able to do a lot in California, when the federal government, is not following science-based guidance. California is able to step up and do it around, vaccines, even, disputing some of the myths around autism that the secretary has promoted. So it's been really nice to be part of a group that's focused on health and not drama.
I know you got to run, but thank you as always for being with us this morning. Based on all the places that you are and all the places that you're speaking, well, let me ask you this question: can folks attend the event that you're going to be a part of in Minnesota next week? Can regular folks show up?
Actually, don't know. I'm betting there's a live stream though, because there was for the one we did this weekend. So. Well,
okay. So here's what you got to do. Let me know. Let us know. Send me an email or text. Let me know if it is, because I'd like to talk about that on the show. Certainly at the end of this week and beginning of next week, because since we're broadcasting in Minneapolis, I'd love to let folks be able to plug into that, because I know that they'd want to be able to take advantage of the knowledge and such that you're going to bring to that event. So please let us know. If it is, so that we can do our part in helping to promote that, okay?
I will. Thanks so much.
Good to see you again. Glad you're well. Stay safe and travel safe. We will talk with you again soon, okay?
Sounds great. Thank you. Having me. Bye.
Bye-bye. There she goes, Dr. Debra Houry, who is doing everything. Yale Public School of Health, professor at Emory University, and as you guys know, former chief medical officer at the CDC. Prevention is a big part of what she's all about, you guys. And so if you're looking for a place to get some additional knowledge in this space of medical and health, she is the one that you want to follow. And I will do my best to get that information from her. If it's going to be live streamed, I'll let you guys know, particularly those who might be up in Minnesota, et cetera. So we'll keep you plugged into her. I want to circle back, asking the question that I asked earlier in the show today. If you have a family that is part of MAGA, that stayed in MAGA, how are you dealing with that? How are you navigating with that person? And, I think that right now we've got a lot of folks who are trying to figure out how they're going to go forward. So let us know. Send us an email, send us a text, and maybe drop some comments at our Facebook page, and we could talk about that. Yay or nay? No? Yeah. All right. We'll yeah. So make sure you go to our Facebook page and let us know. What's that? Got it. Okay. Yeah. Let's grab this one last quick call. Let's see. Hey, Gregory, sorry we couldn't get you in, man. We were trying to figure out we hadn't had enough time. And I guess you had a question regarding viruses. Is that what it is? Okay. All right. Well, Gregory, give us a call back tomorrow, and we'll see if we can get your question out there, or send me an email at richard@WCPT820.com, and I'll do my best to get it forwarded on. But yeah, let us know what your thoughts are, how you're navigating and dealing with the relationship that you may have with someone in your family, or maybe even a dear friend, a longtime friend that's still part of MAGA. I want to hear what you guys have to say, and maybe read your comments tomorrow, or certainly get them posted. And speaking of tomorrow, you guys know we're going to be hanging out with our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. That's going to be a lot of fun. I know Kurt's going to have a lot to say about all that's going on in the state of Indiana and some of the elections, and some of the fallouts from what Governor Mike Braun is doing there. So you want to tune into that, and make sure you're checking out Joan Esposito today, and make sure you're checking out Patty Vasquez today, because they will be bringing it. And I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but Donald Trump was hit. I'll leave you with this. Donald Trump was hit with the lawsuit for what? Over the reflecting pool, the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool renovations. Once again, bless you. Once again, Donald messes up a project by just him being involved with it. So there you go, MAGA. Your boy is once again stepping in, and this time he stepped in the reflecting pool and is causing disaster. And now there is a lawsuit against him for that. So I'll leave you with that, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Thanks to Dr. Houry for being with us. Thanks to our guests for taking the time, Jordan Wood, who's candidate for Congress in Maine, and Dr. Chris Jones, who is running for Congress in Arkansas. Check out all of our guests, Jordan Wood, Dr. Chris Jones, and Dr. Debra Houry. We're going to check out for the day. Stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. And remember, as always, take a deep breath, make your life count. We will see you tomorrow.
I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear, call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
As a fitness coach, my active psoriatic arthritis can slow me down. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, I'm treating my skin and joint symptoms so I can keep moving. Skyrizi, a prescription-only injection for adults, helps me move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. And for those who have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible. With Skyrizi, there's no daily dosing. It's just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement. And that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth will face a new round of questioning from lawmakers this morning over the Iran war, including from some Republicans who have expressed concerns over the length of the conflict and its lack of congressional approval. Yesterday, President Trump said the ceasefire is on, quote, massive life support, and criticized Iran for its latest proposal, pointing to his demands that Iran significantly limit its nuclear program. Meanwhile, Kuwait is accusing Iran of sending an armed paramilitary Revolutionary Guard team to launch a failed attack earlier this month on an island in the Middle East nation that's home to a China-funded port project. The accusation comes just before Trump travels to Beijing for a meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. In other news, AP correspondent Haya Panjwani reports on today's redistricting efforts in 3 states.
Missouri's new U.S. House map is going to court while Louisiana and South Carolina are considering redistricting. The Missouri Supreme Court is to hear arguments on 2 cases. One contends the new map backed by President Donald Trump should be tossed out because the districts are not compact. The other contends that the new district should have been suspended when opponents submitted petition signatures seeking a referendum. Meanwhile, legislative committees in Louisiana and South Carolina are both considering redistricting plans that could help Republicans win additional seats. I'm Haya Panjwani.
The White House Correspondents' Dinner attack suspect pleaded not guilty yesterday to charges that he attempted to kill Trump. Cole Thomas Allen appeared in federal court in Washington. He's accused of trying to storm the dinner while armed with guns and knives. More stories at apnews.com. This is AP News. Civil rights attorney Demario Solomon Simmons has been campaigning for reparations for survivors and descendants of the Tulsa race riots.
His new book, Redeem a Nation, the century-long battle to restore the soul of America, comes just months before the U.S. marks 250 years since its founding. It explores the fight for justice.
The first thing people say is, I didn't do it. Second thing they say, there was nobody here that suffered it that's still alive. Well, we know who did the massacre. The perpetrators are still living in Tulsa. The city's still living. The chamber's still living, etc. And we have a living, breathing person that suffered it.
The Tulsa Massacre in 1921 destroyed the prosperous black community of Greenwood, displacing thousands. Solomon Simmons argues America must address these past wrongs to move forward. I'm Julie Walker.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, look for partial sunshine at times. Do have a chance for some scattered showers and storms mainly into the afternoon, with high temperatures into the upper 70s. Winds becoming gusty, turning to the southwest, increasing to 20 to 25. For tonight, still a chance for showers and storms in the evening, overnight lows in the lower 50s, and for Wednesday, partial sun, high of 62. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 48.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Hi, it's Joan Esposito, and I want to tell you about 120 Life. 120 Life is a drink made with ingredients that help support healthy blood pressure. My mom struggled with high blood pressure for much of her adult life, and for many of us, high blood pressure runs in the family. 120 Life is a great-tasting fruit and vegetable drink designed to improve your blood pressure. Put it to the test for a couple of weeks. Check your blood pressure, see if it works for you. Some people reported results in as little as 2 weeks. And I've been enjoying 120 Life because I love fruit drinks. To try it, go online, 120life.com. That's 120life.com. If your high blood pressure doesn't come down in 2 weeks, you can get a full refund. And you can get a 20% discount. Use the code JOAN, Joan, for 20% off your order. These statements have not been approved by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
If you're drowning in debt, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender, about a fresh start debt consolidation refinance. Today, meet Jordan, 47, project manager, married to Jackie, 43, executive assistant, combined income 260 G's a year, living in a $600,000 home with their 3 kids, called to pay off $120,000 worth of credit card debt, high interest rate consumer loans, and 2 401k loans. Team Hochberg loan officer Cindy Piazza helped Jordan and Jackie pay off their debt, eliminated their stress with the Team Hochberg Fresh Start Debt Consolidation Refinance, which saved them over $12,000 a year. Team Hochberg's helped thousands of radio listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That number again is 855-563-2843 or visit that website you know and love, 56david.com. Atlantic Coast Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 643114.
Alexa, play WCPT.